I started making candles in 2018 and I've learned a lot about it in the process. Whenever I first started out, I honestly wasn't even sure where to begin, and if you're looking to be getting into making candles yourself, then you might be in the same boat. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through all the different equipment and supplies that you need to actually be able to make your own candles. So the first thing that you're going to need is a pouring pitcher, and you can see this in our other videos throughout the candle making process, why it's so important. But this is where you're actually going to put the wax once it's melted into these pouring pitchers. And then from there, you're going to mix in your different fragrance oils, and it's just extremely handy and absolutely necessary so that you have a place that you're creating the candles once they're hot, and then after they cool down, you're going to pour them into your candle jars. The next thing that you're going to need is extremely important, and that is a thermometer. I would recommend getting one like we have here that is a digital reading, but you can also have the traditional one as well. The important thing is that it's long enough to stick down into the pouring pitcher here and still be able to be right up top. Now, thermometers are extremely important for candle making because temperature is crucial whenever you're making your candles. You need to be able to measure how hot your wax is so that you know when it's at the desired point. You need to know when it's at the proper point to add your oil, and then you need to know when it's at the proper point for you to actually pour it. If you mess these up, then it can ruin your candles, so I would recommend that you invest, $10 to $20 in a good thermometer so that you're not messing anything up in the process. Temperature is so important in candle making, and I would hate for you to miss out on this, so make sure that you get a good thermometer. We get all ours on Amazon and I think from Webstaurant too, and we've never paid more than $20. The average price is probably $11 or $12. Next up, you're going to want to get something to stir in your pouring pitchers because after you add in the oil, you're going to need to stir. Now we get these in bundles at Walmart. There's like 8 of them that come for around $7, so pretty affordable. When we first started out, we just went to our local hardware store and got some paint sticks for free. So anything that you can use to kind of go in there and stir so that your oils and wax are getting nice and blended together, that's really all you need. If you're really on a budget, you can go and do the paint sticks like we did, or you can find something else around the house, but even going to Walmart and getting these wooden spoons is fairly affordable. You also need something that is glass to hold your oils, and this is something that we messed up whenever we first started out. I hate to say it, but we were putting our oils in red Solo cups, and oil will go through plastic. So making sure that you're using glass hardware is going to be really important so that you don't ruin anything at your home or business. Now what we use these for are to measure out our oils. And in another video, I'll go in depth as to why it's important to actually measure out your oils by weighing them instead of just looking at the volumetric. But just make sure that you have something that is glass that you can pour your oil into on a scale so that you can actually measure them out. And to go further with that, another thing that you're going to need is some type of scale to weigh out your ingredients. You can get a pretty decent scale for 15 to 20 bucks. Ours on average are probably around $30, but a scale is going to allow you to weigh out your ingredients so that your percentages are accurate and your candle is going to be as high quality as possible, and it's going to help make sure that your costs are locked in so that you're not getting crazy out of hand on your cost of goods. These next couple items aren't needed, but we like to use them. We use these plastic measuring cups. We've just found them to work a little bit better for pouring. Once everything is mixed up in here, we pour up to the fill line on our plastic measuring cup, and then from there it's a smaller amount that's easier to work with that we can then pour into our wax melts or candle jars. But really, if you're on a budget, you could just reuse the glassware after you clean it out. We also like to use these funnels, and what we do is we pour through the funnel into the candle. It just makes things less likely to make a mess. Again, it's not necessary, but it is a nice to have thing just to help keep everything nice and clean. And speaking of keeping things clean, you'll want to make sure that you have lots of paper towels and newspaper handy. We just save newspaper and collect it, and we lay it down on all the tables before we pour. That way none of the tables get damaged, and if something does happen to spill, all we have to do is pick up the newspaper and throw it away. And then paper towels also, we have them everywhere throughout our shop. You can see in one of our shop tour videos. But that way, if something does spill, there's always a paper towel in reach. Now you're probably wondering, how do I actually melt down the wax? Well, there's a couple different options. One is to get a wax melter, but if you're on a budget, just looking to do this as a hobby, you might not want to invest in one of those. So what you can do is do the double boil method. And this is simply where you get a pot of boiling water on your stove, and then you get something else that's metal to put in it, and then you set the pitcher on there with the wax inside, and then the boiling water from the heat from the boiling water will melt down the wax inside the pitcher. This is the budget-friendly option, but if you do have some money to invest, then I would highly recommend that you look into getting a wax melter. We bought these modified Presto melters on Etsy for around $100, $110, and they have been a complete game changer. They can hold up to 18 pounds of wax. You simply melt it down, and then you can open up the spout here to easily pour it into your pouring pitchers once it's at the desired temperature. I also recommend that you get a turkey baster and some kind of medicine dropper just for whenever you go a little bit over or under on your measurements when you're weighing stuff. That way you can easily adjust using these two droppers. That's most of what you need for equipment, but now let's go over the different supplies that you need for candle making. The first one that's obvious is going to be some candle wax. Now here at Alpha Candles, we like to use 100% soy wax. We use a Soy 464 from Golden Brands, and we found it to be our best and favorite wax to work with. It creates a scent that is long lasting, the candle is clean burning, and the candle lasts longer because of the soy wax properties. Some people will use other forms of wax, but soy is something that we've always really liked to work with. You can check out some of our other videos to see the breakdowns between the different types, but you do need to get some type of candle wax to work with. You're also gonna need to get fragrance oils so that your candles can actually smell good. We really like to work with Candle Science and a couple other key suppliers. But you'll need to get some type of fragrance oil because that's what's going to make your candle smell good. And after you melt down the wax, then you're going to blend in your oils once it's at the desired temperature. If you want your candles to have a color, then you'll need to get some type of dye. Again, we like to work with Candle Science on the dye for our candles. And we don't dye a lot of candles just because it makes that frosting really show on soy. But sometimes we do, and we've always gotten our dye from Candle Science. Next up, you need to get a jar, a lid, a boat, and a wick. The boat isn't necessarily necessary, but I'll show you what it's for. You'll want to be able to get candle jars with a lid though, and then a wick. And this is what it looks like once it's prepped, but normally these items come separate, and then you have to place the wick in the center of the jar. And then the wick boat, if you can afford them, is something that helps keep it centered while you're pouring. Without it, then the wick can get out of line, but the boat helps keep it nice and center. Some alternatives are you could use chopsticks, popsicle sticks, you could just tape it. There's lots of options if you're really on a tight budget, but the boats are really nice once you can afford them. After the candles are made and poured, you do need a couple more pieces of equipment. One of those is going to be a heat gun. This will help make the top nice and smooth because you can melt it down, and it also helps you by fixing the tunneling issues that arrive during the production process. So whenever you have holes that are popping up or tunneling issues that need to be fixed, you can get it simply a toothpick. We like to use bamboo sticks sometimes depending on the size of the hole, but all you need to do is open it up and then you can melt down the top to fix those holes and tunneling issues. And that pretty much covers the equipment and supplies that you need. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.